Welcome to the Octavius Gould Experience, and I have the honor and the complete pleasure today of having on my podcast as a guest, Laila White. How are you doing today, Laila?
Doing very well. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, you are based in Singapore, but you're traveling today, if I'm correct.
Yes, I'm in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia at the moment.
Well, how often do you travel around the world?
Often enough to drive me insane, but I'm very privileged, so I'm not going to complain.
Hey, we appreciate the opportunity to travel because we meet so many different people. And as we get into our conversation, one of the things I want to talk to you about is the cultural differences that you had to prepare yourself for as you travel. But first, allow me to give my audience a look, an insight into your impressive background. So, Laila White has created gyms for some of the most prestigious hotel chains within the world, as well as homes, and started one of Singapore's most successful children's indoor playgrounds called Playtopia, capital P, capital L, capital A, capital Y, Topia. She has 26 impressive years of health and wellness training. And Laila also founded a great successful organization called Achieve, which includes her own TV show called Life by Laila. The show focuses on fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle, in which, as we started this podcast and getting acquainted, I talked to Laila. It is actually 6:30 a.m. in the US. Normally I would be in the gym, but there's no place I would rather be than having this compelling conversation with someone who will inspire you all and enlighten you. So, Laila, again, thank you for joining my podcast today.
No, thank you. I inspiring people is a bit too heavy word for me. I would like to share my journey with people. That's how I see it.
Well, I appreciate that. And that means you're humble. So I'm actually going to toot your horn for you today. So let's talk about that journey. Share with my audience, Laila, where your journey started and take us through some of the ebbs and flows that we go through as we pursue our goals and our passion.
Mm. I started off, I'm Singaporean. A lot of people think that I am American because of the name Laila White. I am very Asian. I'm raised in Singapore. So I started my journey at 16 into modeling and spent a few years in modeling. Moved to Japan for 2 years at 18, 17, 18 for 2 years. Was the highlight of my career, but made so much money, but didn't enjoy it very much. I've done a lot of things. During school, I would work. At 13 years old, my dad would make sure that we go to work during school holidays. My dad has, like he would not be very happy if you just sit around and do nothing. So we were forced to work during school holidays. I went into banking. We were the first unit trust to for work for a bank to be brought in Singapore. Didn't enjoy that. So I think in a nutshell, I didn't enjoy very much the corporate world. I'm not, I feel claustrophobic to be in an office. I wish I would because then I would be very, very successful financially. Then from there, I met my husband then, and who's American, and we got married for 14 years. And in between those years, the last 2 years, 12 years, I got into fitness. My brother was in the national service, and I saw his body, and he looks like a Bruce between Bruce Lee and Iggy Pop. So I was like, that's when I just had my firstborn. And I would get, I don't know, maybe you're too young, but I would get on that mini stepper, the infomercial mini stepper for
Yeah.
5 minutes and get so out of breath. But then I got interested and I went to study. And from there, my journey started as a fitness instructor, and I worked for 3 hours, 3 times a week, and I was still married. And then, yeah, from there, the marriage broke, and I was a single parent, and it extended to personal training. And then it extended to I was never the person that if you ask me to do something, I would say, yeah, of course I can do it without knowing anything. But I would definitely work very hard to produce. I make sure 100%. So I was given the opportunity to bring the first cheerleading in Singapore, which we never had in school. So we brought that.
Nice.
And then I was asked to design gyms for a luxury hotel gym. And I was asked, can you do it? I said, of course I can.
Absolutely. That's that mindset we
Yeah.
must have as entrepreneurs, correct?
Yes, yes. And, entrepreneur sounds so wonderful now, but it was a one-man show. I was the secretary, the designer, and, the courier, everything. But yeah, I did about 16 gyms worldwide, Middle East, Americas, Europe, and Asia. Yeah.
And if
So,
I'm correct, through my research preparing for this episode, you actually won the Fitness Best Asia Award, correct?
no, about right. I was approached to curate the Fitness Best Asia Awards.
Okay.
So I was the managing director for Fitness Best Asia Awards.
Oh, gotcha,
So,
gotcha, gotcha. Well, your story is really compelling, which is really what motivated me to ask you to be a guest on my podcast. So I'm going to unpack your story a bit. Let's start with some of those lessons that you learned growing up from your parents, because you talked about some of the values that your parents instilled into you as it relates to hard work. And whether a person is in corporate America or a solopreneur, being consistent and having
mhm.
tremendous work ethic is what's going to get us through the tough times. So talk to me about some of those values that your parents instilled in you that I know you're instilling in your two daughters who are very successful in their own right. I think they actually attended universities in my favorite state, the state of Florida, correct?
That's right. That's right. My parents, my mom was a working mom, and my dad was in the army. So my dad was the strict, they call him Black Panther because he's, very strict. My mom worked very, very hard. We were looked after by my grandmother. There are nine of us. I have eight sisters, eight girls, and the last one is a boy. So we didn't have I finished high school. We
Mhm.
couldn't afford going to college. So my mom and my dad always instill that your word is gold. So if you say something, you have to follow through. And ethics is the biggest key for my parents, because if you become a scammer or you cheat people, it reflects on them. So if we were successful in our education, it's on us because we're the one who sits for the exam. So we can claim that, and that's one thing that I take away, that I instill in my kids. I am adamant about my kids having ethics and moral values and kindness. That's one thing that I hold very dearly.
I can
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So
I can truly appreciate that. Being a girl dad and having a daughter who's in college now and another one who's in high school, there's so much on social media that they're exposed to that you and I were not, that we have to prepare them for. And the ethics piece is really important because as an entrepreneur, we're always going to be challenged with tough decisions that we have to make that may, if we cut corners, get us to where we want to go as it relates to the level of success we want to achieve quicker. But it may not be as sustainable due to the fact that we didn't do it the right way. So as an entrepreneur, has there ever been a time when someone challenged you and you had to tap into your character and your integrity to make a tough decision?
Um, Many times. The biggest problem or my downfall is money is a commodity to me. Um, I I cannot go outside my beliefs to just do a job for the sake of doing it. And in my own personality, which is if I have no interest in something, after a while, like if I build something and after a while I lose the passion or the interest, I would walk away from it. I not like, I just shut it down or whatever. I move on to something that is more meaningful. I always believe for myself in improving myself to feed my soul. As I get older, is feeding my soul is more critical than anything else. But still, you have to pay bills. But I will never sell my soul just because I have to pay bills.
And how are some of the ways you feed your soul? For me personally, I feed it in the gym. I feed it spending quality time with my daughters. And as you mentioned, being kind and just helping others. That's why I think I'm an executive coach, because helping others is something that really drives me. It's part of my purpose. And if we use the phrase feed your soul, feed my soul, that is what feeds mine. So how about you?
So for me, I begin to understand it more and more when I started my third company called Achieve.
Mhm.
So it's spelled AQI. QI means chi, which is CHI equals to balance in the olden Chinese word. Chi equals balance. So as I get older, balance of mind, body, and spirit has become very prominent for me. So for me, the three mantras that I believe in, you take care of yourself. So taking care of yourself is either you sit by yourself, indulge in you, or you go to the gym. Like I love going to the gym. That's time for me. And second is you take care of your community. That includes your family and your friends, your neighbors. The third is you have to take care of your land, which is the earth. So that to me is feeding my soul. And maybe sometimes I don't do it all together, but I do try at least one or two and to be intact and to understand what soul is, right? And during the hardest time of my life, I always manage, and I'm so blessed, manage to see someone that needs more help than me. And somehow, somewhere, when I assist them, makes my problem so minuscule. So, and passing it forward, the doors won't open just because I pushed it. Somebody else opened it for me. And we always have to remember where we come from. And we always have to remember to give back to the people.
I love that. Earlier you said I'm probably young. I'm actually 56. I'll be 57 next month.
Ah,
So
okay. Okay. Well, you look young, so
thank you.
even that is an insult, right? You look young anyway, so ages and
No,
so
I take it as a compliment and I appreciate it. And the reason I touch on that is because for me, Laila, the gym is, I think, what keeps me young as it relates to how I feel my spirit, my energy. I don't
yeah.
do it necessarily for the physical aspect of things. I do it for the level of energy that it brings to me. It gets my mindset straight and on the right path every morning when I hit that gym at 6 a.m. So one of the things that we're dealing with right now, being that it's January 13th, and everyone is trying to figure out, do I maintain that New Year's resolution and keep moving forward? Or do
Yeah.
I go back to the way things used to be? So what type of advice would you give someone who is at the crossroads today on January 13th as it relates to why it's really important to get into the gym? Because you touched on things that weren't necessarily all about their physical appearance.
Hmm. I think so let me just go back a bit more when I started Achieve and I had my TV show called Life by Laila. So I wanted to extend or expand more on what fitness is.
Mhm.
Fitness to me is movement, right? And nowadays in Singapore, Singapore is a booming country. Every 50 meters, there's a gym. But now on the rise of unhealthiness, it's on the rise. But why is that, right? Because we're not moving so much. So when I was doing the TV show in Indonesia, I showed different aspects of exercise, what we call exercise, and not at the gym. A walk, gardening. There's a scene where I went to the paddy field, being with the buffaloes and trying to maneuver the buffaloes, those are all movement. For me, it's very simple. We put so much pressure on people that wants to start taking care of their health. And we go like, okay, you have to do 1 hour. You have to fall in love with things. Spend 20 minutes, maximum 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. Go for a walk. Find something that you like. It doesn't have to be just lifting, although lifting will help women, especially when you're menopausing,
Okay.
your bone density, right? But find something that you like, that you will continue, and then explore other things. Keep it simple, keep it short. And when people go for to exercise, then they go like, oh, should I eat, healthily and diet? You cannot do everything at the same time. Your body cannot take it all like that because now you are depriving yourself. And then you go back, fall in love with it. Cut down. I always say cut down. And then we explain to people there's nothing wrong with an exercise movement. It's just better way that doesn't injure you. There's okay caloric deficit. Whatever you put in, you just deduct it. It's caloric deficit. But if you put better food, it's better circulation. It's better functioning for your organs. That's what people need to understand. This one way, do this, it doesn't work. We see it. It's too hard, you know. Just keep it simple. That my advice is keep it simple, keep it short, keep it sweet. And then, you keep adding as time passes by when you fall in love with it.
Okay. And you touched on some really interesting things. For me, the toughest thing to maintain is great nutrition. Uh, I can work out and I can maintain the level of consistency and it's enhancing my mind, body, and soul, but I don't know if my inner body is getting fed the correct food at the correct time. So for men like myself who just really go into the gym focusing on, as you mentioned earlier, lifting weights or maybe getting some cardio in, and then we go home and we eat a donut or a bagel, as I do at times. What advice would you give for us and the women out there as it relates to, some of the best practices relating to great nutrition?
Well, I think now the problem is we're not moving a lot, and our food are not the best nutritious food.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different stuff that goes into our food, right? The hormones and stuff like that. I think it's just calories. If you look at it in a nutshell, it's all calories.
Mhm.
For me, is personally, I would have goals, specific goals. Like, for example, I would say, hey, listen, I'm gonna fit in. It's very simple. I know it's very dense. I want to fit in that dress, so I would be strict. If I have a photo shoot, I'd be very, very strict. But I also look at it this way: if I eat badly today, and tomorrow is a day for me to balance. You can't keep knocking yourself out. But I don't think that this you're missing out on life. You have to enjoy food. Of course you have to enjoy food,
Mhm.
but you also have to balance it out. If you
Right.
can't be eating bad food day after day and expect you have the best health, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. You got to balance it. And movement, move, walk after dinner, take a walk, drink water in between the food, take a pause, drink lots of water. I carry a big, big jug of water everywhere I go because it's so heavy. So I keep drinking it. And I spend 45 minutes only at the gym. I don't talk to people, I don't socialize, because to me, if you want to talk to me, go outside. I just want to get to this gym and finish it. And this talking at the gym drives me insane. I'm the most friendliest outside, but they drive me crazy when they speak to me at the gym.
And I'm an outgoing person like you, Laila. So I speak to people in the grocery store. I'll sit there and talk
Right.
to people in the parking lot, but I do not communicate with anyone in the gym. So I take the same approach. I have my earpiece in, I have my music or a podcast like this podcast, listening to things that will enhance my mindset. But the one thing that you mentioned, Laila, that I have trouble with, because I am consistent, I'm in the gym 6 days a week. 5:36 a.m. It's the water thing.
Uh,
I am bad consuming water day in and day out. And I hate to say it, but I will for the purposes of this podcast episode and to help my audience. I probably drink maybe 1 to 2 glasses a day. So, how can you help someone like me that needs to figure out a way to get into a routine to increase their water intake?
Go and buy that jug. So the jug itself is like 2 liters, right, of water, uh, where I carry it. But I think that forcing everything that we do is a habit. So if you're drinking 2 glasses of water, set a timer. Set a timer every 30 minutes. Set a timer. Get up and get the water. Make sure the water is right there so you can grab it. It's I have so many glasses at home, right? Many glasses, but I still drink out of the jug
Okay.
because I know I have to finish it. But make it accessible. Once you get to a routine, then it's a lot easier. I love drinking water, so
I
I
will
don't
work
know.
on that. As we communicate on LinkedIn, if you can do me a favor, just every now and then, maybe every 3 or 4 months, just do a check-in with me.
Okay, I will. I will. Just don't block me. Because like, oh
There
my
you
gosh,
go.
it's annoying.
Maybe it's the thing that I see in the gym where everyone's carrying around milk cartons that they convert into a water jug. Maybe I need to start there or go to
Yeah,
Target.
yeah. I see them with the milk carton. Yeah, they drink water. Yeah.
I don't know if my daughters would approve of that. So I'll go buy a jug from Target or somewhere that's nice.
Yes.
So you started Playtopia, and it was a
Mhm.
kids indoor playground. And the purpose of that, from what I researched, was it was supported by, wholesome programs, and you wanted to create well-rounded leaders and show kindness and caring to children. Talk to me about how that concept came about.
Okay. So I was approached to open up a kids indoor playground, and I go, oh, no, I have 2 kids. I don't want to deal with kids. But the higher power has a sense of humor because every time I say I don't want to do something, like, oh, just wait a minute, the joke's on you. But I didn't want kids just to come and play. Right? It's an indoor. We were the first one inside the National Library in Singapore to promote learn through play. So for us is I want kids to be intact with their moral values. So we came up with the B project. So one month we will spark. It's called Spark the Chain, the B project. So be kind. So we'll see kids doing kind things at the playground, and we'll go up to them and we'll give them a sticker, a badge and a sticker. And if they come back next month, which is be be helpful, and then we'll give them another badge. So they give us the 2 badges back, and we'll give them a cape, we'll give them a present, and then we'll give them stickers, and they can go outside of the playground when they see other people. They'll give that as to promote the moral ethics and values of what is now lacking in all of our children mostly. And I also wanted, like in Asia, we think the older generation, the silver or the golden age, we consider them as the how do you call it? Like, precious treasure.
Mhm.
So you can learn a lot from them. So we would have grandparents' day. So they come in for free. And we have traditional games in our room where they come and play and teach the grandchildren. But you see, most of the time, it's not the kids that are enjoying themselves. It's the grandparents. And then it bring up this feelings of being a child again. We forget that we were children once upon a time. And
Yes.
then that's when the grandkids look at you and connect more. And grandparents, when they raise kids, it's a lot different than these precious parents now. You can't scold the kids. You can't. I was raised by the village, so you know how the village are. So I wanted that, and it was a great experience to see family actually comes together. So
And
I'm very proud of that.
that is awesome. I don't have grandkids, but having two daughters, I can appreciate everything that you just communicated and articulated. One of the things I was impressed with was your ability to successfully found and scale Elite Fit, which allowed you to be a gym consultant for hotels. And the reason why that struck me is because as an entrepreneur who coaches C-suite executives, senior leaders, and entrepreneurs, one of the things that I always get asked is how can you go out there and do business with Fortune 1000 organizations as a small business? So for you, you were able to, as a solopreneur, engage large corporations, very prestigious hotels, and communicate and articulate your value proposition as it relates to what you can offer them to enhance something that is very important to their organization, but often looked upon as necessary for a big vendor or a big partner to handle. So, how did you, as a solopreneur, go about approaching these hotel chains and successfully becoming a strategic partner with them as a fitness consultant?
Fortunately for me, most of the time, the only time I advertise my services when I was starting out as a personal trainer. Other than that, it's always word of mouth. So when I was given the first project to design the gym, I wasn't paid. I wasn't paid for it.
Mhm.
But it was exciting for me, a challenge for me. And of course, I said, well, of course I can do it. I have no fear, you see. I don't believe in failing. I believe in just doing it. And a lot of people just talk about things. Idea remains an idea. So just do it, and something, it will lead you somewhere. So when I was approached, and I said, sure, I can do it. And I did it, and they were impressed. I looked at it in a different way. I didn't like so when you talk about hotel gyms, this is like 20 years ago. Mostly hotel gyms were in the basement of a hotel. Nobody cares about gyms because they don't make any revenue. Spas make revenue, right?
Right.
So I said, okay, but it's a piece of room that is as important as the lobby. So how can you make one part important and the rest not, right? And I knew in 20 years' time or 15 years' time, fitness is going to be huge. It's going to be big. It's going to be wellness is going to be big in the industry. So after the first one, I was invited to do the second, the third, the fourth, and so forth. Um, I don't live in a box. Most of the time, when I first started my journey, I was called, you're a jack of all trades, but master of none. I go like, okay, I don't care. I really don't care because as we can see during COVID, everybody had to be an entrepreneur to survive.
Right.
You're not just one way, you have to do other stuff, right? I don't believe in putting all my eggs in a basket. That doesn't mean that I don't put the same effort and focus on other things that I do. I just like expanding myself. I don't think fitness and wellness just sticks to one. It encompass everything in life. So for me, my word is goal. Everything that I put things, my name to it, I will put 100% in it.
I tell entrepreneurs all the time, Laila, it's all about trust. People want to do business with people whom they like and
Yeah.
who they trust. So that's extremely important. At the beginning of the conversation, you talked about money not being your purpose and being overly important. As an entrepreneur, what is it that really drives you? If it's not money, what's your purpose in life and as an entrepreneur?
I think it has to have meaning for me, right? To create something,
Mhm.
to make it come alive and see where it goes and it continues. That brings thrills to me. And it's not about a pat on your back. It's not about it's to pass it on where somebody else can enjoy it. Somebody can continue and enjoy it or take it somewhere else and expand it. That's the way I see it. Um, it sounds a bit noble, but actually it's not, I think, like I said, money is important to pay the bills, but it's there's more of knowledge and passion and compassion and to see things that's being enjoyed by a whole bunch of other people means a lot more to me.
I love that because I always tell entrepreneurs, if you're driven by money, you'll do well when you have it. But those times when there's a downturn in the economy or we face 2020 and a global pandemic, as you mentioned, and the money is not flowing, that's when people get stuck because that
Mhm.
money isn't flowing in, it's not accessible. We must have a burning desire to excel. And that's what
Yeah.
really fuels us and drives us. And then I obviously identify our purpose. So I'm quite sure your purpose is also your two daughters. So they went to college, if I'm correct, in the US.
Mhm.
How did you go about helping them make that decision to come into the US to go to school? And how did you feel comfortable allowing it to happen, being all the way in Singapore? So, what are some of the things you do to be that great mother?
Oh, I don't know. Great, great. If they're in a bad mood, they won't call me great mother.
Well, hey, I get the same thing from my daughters.
For me, education, my dad raised us until we were in secondary school, which is what do you call it, high school, right? Some of my sisters are very successful. They earn their own money. They went to study further. But for me, education is so important, especially for girls. And I made a promise to myself, not to them, that I want to send them to university. So I worked. I was a single parent for 20 something years, and I was 100% single parent from mind, body, and spirit, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. And my goal was to send them to university. It wasn't the aim to send them to the uni in the States, but just to send them to university. I remember my youngest, she's 28 now. She was 16 after finish high school. She told me, she said, "Oh, I want to go. What is the word that you use when after high school you travel?
Go
What do you
abroad.
call it?
I want to
Yeah,
go
go abroad.
abroad.
But no, but there's a word that they do. Uh, in Europe, they do it. So they go and travel. They work as a waiter or waitress, and and it's not summer break. I can't remember the word. It'll come back to me. So I go like, what does that look like to you? And she goes like, oh, I'm just gonna stay in Singapore and hang out. I go like, oh no. At that time, my sister was living in North Carolina. So I know she's bright because the teacher says she's very bright, but she's not interested in studying. She's always daydreaming and stuff. So I bought her a one-way ticket to the US. I put her on the plane, put her on the one-way ticket. When she went to Hong Kong, Oh, gap year. That's what it's called, gap year.
Okay.
So when she landed in Hong Kong, I just realized that I sent my 16-year-old for the first time on a plane all the way to America. And I cried. That was the first time I cried, right? But she went, and then we put her in state college, and she did very well. She went to university, and then my oldest, who was in in the college here in Singapore, when she graduated, I sent her to the US with all the hard-earned money that I had made. So I had a choice. I wanted to study psychology at one stage. So I had to choose between me studying psychology or sending my kids for university, and I made the right choice. I know that that's the right thing to do, especially for girls. And when I can afford it, I did it, and I'm so proud of myself that I could do that for my children. And now it's up to them. So
Congratulations. What advice would
thank
you
you.
give to single mothers out there who are faced with those similar decisions, who are doing things pretty much on their own and trying to put their children in the best possible position, which comes with a lot of sacrifice, right?
Uh, yeah, I think I don't know. I never looked at it as sacrifice. I think sacrifice to me is giving up something unwillingly. I wanted to do that for my girls because I know education is important. You as a parent normally will make all the decision that the children would never like. You will make all the unpopular according to them. But if at the end of this decision is meant for their goodness, for the best for them, it shouldn't sway. And the better it is for them, the harder all the outlash and all the problems will come to you. But you have to stick to the gun. I send my kids to a Chinese school, meaning that they speak, read, and write Mandarin when they were young. They hated it because they are the only non-Chinese in the school, and they go like, it's not necessary. But now, they go like, oh, I can speak, I can understand when Mandarin, people speak Mandarin, which is we knew Mandarin was going to be huge.
Right.
So it was unpopular, but I didn't care. I knew it. I knew it was good for them in the end. But as a single parent, we have to make tough decisions, hard decisions. But as long as we know it's not for us, it's for them,
Right.
we're okay.
Right. Love it. Part of having your children in the US and you being an entrepreneur who travels are being faced with the cultural differences of different countries. How has that been, or how did you even prepare your daughters for those cultural differences that they would encounter being in different countries, excuse me?
I think for them, because we live in Singapore, we live in a bubble, right? We have crime, but we have low crime.
Mhm.
We can walk out at any time, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, nothing happens. Everything is safe here. But that doesn't mean that we have no crime, but it's just low crime. So being in that bubble, you can leave your children in the playground, the kids will still be there, but living in that bubble and then going to the US, it's just a totally different ball game. People ask me how can you sleep at night? I said I block it out. Otherwise, I will not be able to sleep. So for them, they're so naive, like in a sense that they will walk around with earset blaring. I go like, you can't do that. You have to be aware of your surrounding. And when people are nice to them, they just say, oh my God, it's so nice. I want to hug. I don't know. It's totally different ball
Right.
game. Yeah. But you don't want to take away all that. Those are all good things, right? When you think people are nice, that's great, but you just have to be a lot smarter.
Right.
Because now we are so wary of everyone. When people are nice to us, we go like, oh, what's wrong with them? So for cultural wise, I think they're a lot smarter, a bit more a bit smarter now. But I always tell people when we did a TV show in Indonesia, my team wanted me to go there as an expert. And I said, you never go and conquer. You go as a student. You will learn a lot more coming by learning. So cultural wise, I have no problem going anywhere because I'm willing to learn. I don't come and try to tell people what to do. I share my experience with them. And if they like it, they take it. And most of the time, I learn a lot more from them than they learn from me.
Awesome. As an entrepreneur, I face adversity at various times during my 27 years in entrepreneurship. We have to go through the ebbs and flows and overcome adversity. How did you, or what adversity did you face as an entrepreneur? And how did you go about persevering?
Oh, okay. So for me, most of the time is maneuvering. That's both sides, right? I have a harder time connecting, or I have a harder time dealing with women in business than men. Oh no, not saying that. I do have my own set of problems with men, but with women, I find that I have to talk a different way. I have to dress a different way because uh, automatically, I'm being shut down the way I look and the way I dress. But it's okay. After they get to know me, it's a lot warmer. I now was like, oh my God, do I have to jump through hoops just to get the work done? But through men, it's slightly different. Different because I'm going to share an experience. I was in the Middle East once, and I was designing a gym there, and I had to deal with equipment dealers. So um, he said, "Oh, I'll come and pick you up." And I said, "Sure, we'll go for a quick drink, and then we'll discuss what I need." And I got into the car, and he said, "Well, you look great." I said, "Oh, thank you very much." And he goes like, "Well, you look better on top of me." And I was like, "Whoa." You know, so as an entrepreneur, especially as a woman, it's I don't play this woman card at all. But we got to also be very, very smart, right? Where we go. Like the Middle East is totally different ball game for women. So I ignored it. We talked, we got to business, and he apologized. He says, "I'm so sorry," because he knows that he's working for me. It's not the other way around. So I didn't like rage or whatever. And I said, "Listen, no hard feelings." I said, "This is business. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I get emotional in that." I say, but out of respect, just as a human being, I think comments like that should not have happened. And he did. So we move on. We go to business, right? So
Exactly.
a different set of businesses. But sometimes, it's hard. The men and women dynamics are hard. Generally, people, if you tell them or you somehow talk to them and have a discussion, most of the time, 98%, it works out,
Yeah.
you know.
That is an interesting story because as an executive coach, I coach women, and the challenges are different when I'm discussing entrepreneurship. Some of those challenges are what you just communicated. Whereas in corporate America, it's how can I get my voice? How can I go about getting a seat at the table and being taken seriously? How did you go about positioning yourself and building your personal brand so that outside of appearance, people, whether they were men or women, would take you serious and focus on your value proposition?
Well, one thing is I always produce what I say I was going to do. My word, like I said, is gold. Second is I do have a sense of humor. And once they know that I have a sense of humor and, they don't go over out of their boundaries, they're okay. I think uh, losing your sense of humor is going to be very hard in life anyways.
Mhm.
Um, I find women in Indonesia are one of the smartest women in power. They would sit with men and, like the most inappropriate stuff that comes out. And they just got laugh and then they go like, oh, then they change the subject and become business. And but through education, through conversation, things change. I never want to be the things that we hate about men to become one.
Right.
That's not my aim. I want to be better. If I don't like what you're doing, I don't want to repeat the same thing. I don't want to be screaming at you and say inappropriate things to you. I love being a woman. I embrace my femininity. I wanna hold on to my kindness. I want to teach you. I want to talk to you in kindness, even if you're inappropriate. I'm going to talk to you and give you a few minutes to just touch you in your soul to say that, hey, listen, you've got kids, you've got mothers, you've got sisters, and that's the only approach that has worked for me. But if it gets out of like totally out of boundaries now, it's all on now.
Then that fitness guru has to come out, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that brings me to an endeavor that you're launching with your co-founder called Gallup Breast Control. Talk to me about that important endeavor.
Okay, so Maxine Devereaux is my ex-husband's wife of 20 years. So we recently talked about 3 years ago. I've always wanted to reach out to her because, in the background, I hear my kids. Of course, in the beginning, listen, guys, I'm not an angel. My marriage broke up. He moved back to the US. And of course, I hear in the background, Maxine this, Maxine that from the girls. And, who is that Maxine? But as my life got busier and at the end of the day, I got busier and my life is stable. And I honestly reach out inside my soul. Everything that happened to me has brought me here. I truly believe that. And then I wanted to reach out to her and thank her because she did give great advice to my kids. But I didn't want to because, children are possessive. That's my Maxine. Why did you? I didn't. But 3 years ago, during Mother's Day, she reached out to me and she said, thank you very much for allowing me to raise the kids and be part of their life. She is stage 4 breast cancer, uh, double mastectomy, and she has survived 17 years. This woman has uh, different types of cancer. She is full of life. She is an incredible woman. She is such a beautiful soul. We have been speaking 3 years ago till today, till like when I land, before I jump into the plane, for 2, 3 hours every single day. So we last year, we both founded Gallup because we wanted women. My tagline is get up, dress up, and show up. I truly believe that in whatever you do, no matter how miserable you are, you have to find a little bit of strength to get up, dress up, and show up because there's magic always waiting for you. And then for her, at the end of this journey, we want to be better and not bitter. That's it, because being bitter, it robs you from you. Nobody else, your partner has already moved on, but it robs you from your life. So that's where Gallup is like Gallup, Galup. So Gallup on, move forward.
Okay.
That's what we want to teach women to have self-empowerment. So we've done events for the whole year. We started on the 8th of March, 2024. And we did the biggest one in 5th of October for breast cancer. So what we did was we brought everyone together, and Indonesia, Malaysia is hybrid. Indonesia, Malaysia, America, Australia. I also wanted to highlight that men do get breast cancer, but they call it chest cancer. So for us, I wanted us as women that's empowered that we talk about breast cancer for women. What about the men? Men won't talk about this. They already call it chest cancer, means that they don't want to talk about this. So if we're really that empowered, we need to be supporting our men. So, so that's what we did. We did a huge at Catapult, a beautiful interactive building. So we had about 40 people that attended. And now we wanted to take away fear from people. So it was a sharing moment for the survivors and thrivers. And it was beautiful because everybody took away fear so people can step forward and just take one step forward. And then my daughter and I vow to be the first one to do for a checkup together, to take the first step. And then it has to continue, not just October. So now we are going out of October to launch our first one in the US, July 18. So
What a beautiful endeavor that you and Maxine came together, tapping into your strength and courage based on your personal situation to form a business with such a great cause. So hats off to both of you. Kudos to you and Maxine for that business and what you're doing and the impact you're making. And it was really interesting that you touched on the fact that men get breast cancer, because I am always focused on my prostate screenings for cancer. But I read about a few prominent men in the media world who were diagnosed with breast cancer. And it enlightened me. And this was just a few months ago. So I wasn't aware of that until I read the article. So thank you for touching on that. You're a busy entrepreneur. You're a busy person, busy professional. You're also founding and starting an organization called Suited, Suitit. Tell me about that endeavor.
So I wanted to give something. A lot of people go like, oh, you need to do something to pass it forward. How can we look like you? Talk like you? I said, well, you don't want to look like me. You don't want to talk like me because most of the time people just shut me down. But I wanted, I love suits, but I also wanted to glamorize just with a touch of suit, just to transform women. And if you get suits, because we all are built differently, I think suits, if done correctly, especially modestly, there's a lot of modest dressing in Asia. I wanted because you work from morning to late evening, and then you have to go for dinner or whatever without going home, So this is something that I am planning to launch, and yeah, so we'll see from there what else. I don't know.
You are a busy entrepreneur. And I like the fact that you are brave enough and had the courage to say, hey, listen, I am going to pursue my goals, because we always hear focus on one thing, be great at one thing instead of just being okay at many. And being a former athlete who always tried to do different things, play different positions, as an entrepreneur, I like to have my feet in different fires, if you will, my finger on different buttons, because if we're laser focused and we prioritize and manage our time appropriately, there are 24 hours in a day, there are 7 days a week. We can get a lot done. And I think it's the people who have the inability to prioritize and focus, because there's interference. I always tell people there's external interference and internal interference that prevents us from being able to focus on our goals. And once we're able to eliminate that interference, it just opens up a world of possibility. So you've obviously done that very well. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how can people get in touch with or learn more about Gallup, first of all?
Okay, we have a website, gallup.live, and on the website itself, there is a email address and stuff like that. So that's we are on Instagram too, Gallup SG, and Facebook and LinkedIn.
Awesome. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn about your fitness endeavor or actually suited?
They can email me at on LinkedIn or Laila. I got so many email addresses. Laila Gallup at gmail.com. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Laila, as we wrap up, what advice could you give someone in a very concise way who's saying, I want to be like her? Or she said something that really struck a chord. She's so inspiring. What advice would you give to people who are stuck today? They're not quite sure where they want to go in life and they're trying to find their way.
Oh gosh. I think you gotta, I spend every night before I go to sleep being truthful to myself. Uh, just to recap what I do, what I don't like about myself, and do better. I think honesty to oneself is the hardest thing that you can do in life. Be very truthful in what you want to accomplish and take away fear. You got only one shot in this life. You got nothing to lose. A lot of people, when I tell them, I said, I don't have much time left. And they go like, why? Are you sick? I said, no. I said, if I was sick, then at least the doctor would tell me I've got this much time. At least I know. I said, I can walk down the street and get knocked down by a car. I said, that's how short my life is. So, you know what? I love to believe in reincarnation. But what happens if it doesn't exist? I'm not gonna just wait for another life. I'm gonna do the best version of me now and try to be the best version of myself. That's it. What do you have to lose? You got nothing to lose. Nothing
Exactly.
to lose.
Exactly. Well,
So
I tell
that's my
people,
advice.
Laila, I tell people in 2025, it's all about well-being for me. And your organization achieved as you or as you put it so well on your LinkedIn profile is symbolic of a balance of the mind, body, and the spirit, as you talked about earlier in our conversation. And well-being is extremely important. It's something that we all need to focus on. Last question for you. What advice could you give to my audience and listeners to really focus and improve and enhance their well-being?
Ooh, a day at a time. Um, you gotta understand 20 years ago when I talked about this, everybody laughed at me. That it's so good of you to take a step to take care of your body. That's a step there. But it takes your mind to get the body going. So that's your focus there. Um, that's your mindset, right? You can when once you get your mindset intact, you can achieve anything. And when you have these two things going for you, you need to sit down and honor your soul. That's when you know that you're doing the right thing by helping others, helping the world. So the balance of mind and body and spirit at the end of the day is what actually matters in whatever we do.
Well, we're going to leave it right there because that was said so well. Laila, I appreciate you being on my podcast as a guest. Laila White can be found on LinkedIn, and that's how we established our relationship. We communicated on LinkedIn, and here we are today on this podcast episode, sharing some insight and hopefully dropping gems that are going to make people prepared not only for this year as it relates to their fitness, their mind, body, and soul, and their well-being, but being a great parent. She has two wonderful daughters that she talked about. So if you like this episode, please hit like and share and subscribe. I hope to have more great guests on my podcast like Laila. And again, thank you so much. You are extremely inspirational, and I know you're humble, so you didn't concur to that at the earlier statement that I made at the beginning of our podcast episode. But I've had an opportunity to peruse your LinkedIn profile, listen to some podcast episodes that you have been on recently, and it was just really inspiring to me. to read about and learn about your journey, because it's not always easy. Success doesn't happen overnight. And I think your journey is a testament to how a single parent, whether you're a man or a woman, can focus on their purpose and pursue endeavors, go through the ebbs and flows of life, overcome adversity, and come out successful in a way that's inspiring to others, even when you don't mean it to be. So thank you for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Again, please hit like, subscribe, and share my podcast episode. Until the next time, be safe, be well, carpe diem.